Hello everyone and welcome to a new feature here at GavsWeatherVids. So every Wednesday from this week on right way through the winter of 2023-24 we're going to be doing Strat Watch. So we're going to be looking at all things stratosphere wise. We're going to be looking seeing if there's any sign of a sudden stratospheric warming event taking place at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the Arctic and the North Pole through this season. We'll be bringing you update with model data. And it's going to be epic. So we will be covering this in the 10 to 14 days as well. So don't get me wrong. We won't just be doing this specifically once we're looking at the stratosphere. Particularly if there's any sign of a sudden stratospheric one. That will be covered throughout the 10 to 14 day video updates as always. And live streams too, of course. But I just wanted to do a feature this year where we just take the stratosphere section of these videos out and just have a look at it purely stratosphere data, you know, in a specific video. And it's in addition to everything else. So we're not losing anything. This is in addition to, if you see what I mean. I'm going to get on with the first installment of Strat Watch for you in a moment. Just to say that these videos will be released every Wednesday, same time, same place at midday. So if you're enjoying the content on the channel at the moment, please you like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to tell friends about GavsWeatherVids as well. So we've released a 6 AM forecast. We're going to be live shooting our 10 to 14 day at 6 PM, and then straight after that we've got the third installment of the Christmas countdown to come as well. So an epic Wednesday of content here on the channel. As I say, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Right, okay, well let's crack on with the very first Strat Watch. So for us, this is the first one. We will have a look at the official blog from the UK Met Office. The link is in the description with this video to explain what is a sudden stratospheric warming. This is from a long time ago, back on the 8th of January 2023, when there was a massive SSW taking place. More about that in a second. But let's see what the Met had to say then. So, although this is from 2013, so it's over 10 years old, it's still relevant. You may have heard talk that the UK possibly seeing some colder weather next week, and that things going on in the upper atmosphere may be playing a part. The thing happening is in the atmosphere is known as a sudden stratospheric warming, SSW. When it happens, it attracts a lot of interest in the UK because it is sometimes linked to the onset of cold weather in winter. Here we shed a little bit more light on the phenomenon. The term SSW refers to what we observed, a rapid warming up to 50 degrees Celsius in just a couple of days in the stratosphere between 10 kilometres and 50 kilometres up. You may have heard of a jet stream which helps steer Atlantic weather system toward the UK. Well, there are other jet streams high up in the atmosphere in both the northern and southern hemisphere which circumnavigate the Earth from west to east. One of these is the polar night jet. The polar night jet circles the Arctic. Sometimes the usual westerly flow can be disrupted by natural weather patterns or disturbances in the lower part of the atmosphere, such as a large area of high pressure in the northern hemisphere. This causes the polar jet to wobble, and these wobbles or waves break like waves on the beach. When they break, they can be strong enough to weaken or even reverse the westerly winds and swing them into easterlies. As this happens, air in the upper air in the stratosphere starts to collapse into the polar cap and compress. As it compresses, it warms, hence the stratospheric warming. How does it move down through the atmosphere? As it turns out, waves can only move around the Earth's atmosphere in westerly winds. Fluctuations in our weather send waves up through the atmosphere to the easterly winds in the stratosphere, where they travel no further, and instead break and reinforce the east winds, bringing the easterlies lower. This pattern continues until the easterlies have moved down to the troposphere, the lowest part of the atmosphere where our weather is. It can take anything from a few days to a few weeks for this process to take place. What impact does it have on the UK? We normally expect our weather to come from the west with a flow of relatively mild air in off the Atlantic. When an SSW brings easterly winds, this tends to alter our weather pattern slightly, weakening areas of low pressure and moving our jet stream further south. This leads to high pressure over the North Atlantic, blocking that flow of mild air and dragging in cold air from the continent to the east. Exactly how cold it might be depends on the details of where the air comes from. SSWs don't always result in this outcome, but a cold snap follows more often than not, so the SSW greatly increases the risk of wintry weather. And can we predict these events in advance? Currently, we can reliably predict individual SSWs about a week in advance, and we can detect them early on with satellite and other observations. This means we have some time to see how they develop and may impact our future weather. The Met Office will continue to monitor the current event, and as ever, we'll keep everyone up to date on any cold periods through our forecasts and warnings. Now, keep in mind that's from 2013, so where they're saying they can currently reliably predict individual SSWs about a week in advance, that is still correct, but there are seasonal models now that are factoring in potential SSW events, and those models are improving over time as well. So that is from 2013. I just want to start with the SSW that we had in 2013. So this is the 1st of January, New Year's Day 2013. So the blue purple colours here that we have over the stratosphere at 10 HPA over the Arctic, North Pole into the North Atlantic and Canada. That is the polar vortex at its roots in the stratosphere. Very cold temperatures basically are a depiction of the PV, temperature down to -75 to -80. This dramatic red that we see here over Siberia, that is the sudden stratospheric warming beginning to take place over Siberia at 10 HPA. If we go a few days further on to the 5th of January, that's what we see. So notice the red colours are maintained. That was a major sudden stratospheric warming over Siberia it had in January 2013. And that is penetrating into the North Pole now. So we've got what we call a displacement event of the PV. These blue and purple colours are essentially being displaced out of the pole and down into Greenland, Northern Europe, into the North Atlantic, and also Northern America as well. We call this a displacement event. But it gets more dramatic as we go to the 7th of January. Then we see that the sudden stratospheric warming has penetrated right into the top of the pole. Temperatures have lifted by probably around 50 degrees. The displacement event, the PV is even more displaced, if you like, into North America and through the North Atlantic, even being pushed out of northern parts of Europe. But it gets more dramatic than that as we go on to the 8th of January, where we see signs that the displacement event is turning into a split of PV. Notice how these blue colours are being stretched and elongated, and the intensity of the blue, we've got one lobe going off here to America, one lot sinking down into Europe, beginning to split the PV. So we go to the 9th of January, then we are seeing a definite sign of a split of polar vortex. A secondary warming of stratosphere is taking place over Eastern America and into the Atlantic, combining with this warming, the southern stratospheric warming from over Siberia, to not only displace and stretch the PV, but also to split it at its roots in the stratosphere. And by the time we get through to the 10th of January 2023, a classic split of the polar vortex has taken place. So essentially, the polar vortex at its roots in the stratosphere with those cold temperatures is being obliterated and pulled apart. I liken these events, almost like throwing a bomb into the atmosphere in the stratosphere, and so it blows everything up, rips everything apart, and then of course you wait to see how it all comes back together again, where if you shake up the kaleidoscope, where all of the individual pieces end up. So that's the 11th of January, again, classic split of the polar vortex there in the stratosphere at 10 HPA. And that is the 12th of January. So notice now the blue colours are completely gone from the pole. Now we've got warm temperatures at 10 HPA in the stratosphere. What's left of the polar vortex at its roots is like over America and into the North Atlantic, even been pushed out of Europe as well. Very, 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 very dramatic event, but of course culminated, that's 15th of January, again, classic split. This culminated in an increasingly cold winter for the winter of 2012-2013, probably our last consistently cold winter, and eventually ended up in that extraordinarily cold March and into April with loads and loads of snow, blizzards, freezing temperatures, and whatnot. Keep in mind, you don't always need a sudden stratospheric warning to get a cold spell, though, for the UK. So this is from the December to remember, December the 1st, 2010. Notice we've got, again, blue and purple colours there over the Arctic and over the North Pole, but December to remember is beginning here. And that's how we look as we get to the 7th of January. So there's a bit of a warming taking place over Siberia, but nowhere near the level that we would class as a sudden stratospheric warning. Actually, temperatures over the North Pole itself, about average, a little bit colder than average, especially on the Greenland side of the pole. We go to the 14th of December. Again, absolutely no sign of an SSW then. Yes, there is warming around the edges across Europe into Siberia, but for the polar region itself, for the Arctic, there is no sign of a sudden stratospheric, I mean, any point through the December to remember. That's the 20th of December, when the freezer for Northern Europe is about at its most intense. And again, no SSW at all. There wasn't an SSW in November of 2010 either, so you don't always need a sudden stratospheric warming to get a cold spell, or even to get an exceptionally cold spell, such as we had in December 2010. However, the vast majority, that is the exception to the rule, really, the vast majority of our coldest spells and coldest winters will involve at least some degree of SSW. Right, so that's set the scene. Let's have a look at how things are going for this season so far, Ben. Now, we're currently missing the winter updates, so we will continue to do so. When the winter updates are over, we will be showing you this data in pertaining to 14 days too. But for anybody who can't watch, pertaining to 14 days whole, then I just want to do this video once a week just to take this out. So, currently, well, this is from the JMA. So, currently, the black line is the temperature at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole. The grey line is the trend line. And you see, through this season so far, we go to the start of September with this up to now. And through the season so far, that black line has not been deviating far at all from the grey line. So, the temperatures at 10 HPA have been roughly about where you expect them to be. Somewhere around minus 17 currently. Go a little bit low down to 30 HPA. So that's a bit closer to the troposphere, but again, not any particular deviation. Black line again, very, very close to that grey line throughout, even into the early part of November. Yes, it's got a little bit below average, but certainly nothing exceptional. No, it's a little bit under the grey line, a little bit under par, but hovering somewhere close to around minus 72, minus 73, which isn't that far from where you'd expect to be. So at the moment, the temperatures at both 10 and 30 HPA stratosphere over the part are not doing anything overly dramatic. Let's see how the GFS is forecasting things over the next couple of weeks. So again, the blue colours here, but we see this is essentially the polar vortex at its roots. The cold temperatures essentially the polar vortex at its roots in the stratosphere. Now, as we run through, we see the temperature over the next few days going to be hovering there over the pole, somewhere around minus 75, minus 76, something like that. If we go back here and go back to 10 HPA, we can see, but as we push on through into the middle of November, that's roughly where we'd expect to be, maybe a little bit below par, but it won't be. We won't be seeing the black line doing anything notably. It won't be notably breaking away from the grey line there. It won't. It won't be doing anything overly dramatic if that forecast the temperature between minus 70 to minus 76, something like that, is correct. As we push on, so we carry on into the extended range, and again, no sign of anything all that dramatic taking place. Temperature continue to hover somewhere around minus 70 to minus 76, maybe warming up over the pole itself a little bit, possibly starting to lift the temperature up there to sort of mid minus 60s, and the minus 70 plus temperature being pushed out maybe a little bit into the Northern Atlantic. So possibly a little bit of a displacement event going on there, but again, not overly so. There's a bit of a warming going on over Siberia, which is quite unusual because it's only the 23rd of November that this gets us to. So any sort of warming of the stratosphere at this time of year in November is actually quite unusual. Though, that's these are nowhere near southern stratospheric warming, and it's just of note really at the moment. But like there is a little bit of warming going on over Siberia up to the 23rd of November, but will not be impacting the stratosphere, directly. It won't be impacting the stratosphere directly. Right, so that's for GFS. That gets to 23rd of November. Later on in these updates and in the 10 to 14 days as well, you will also be seeing means charts. These are from the University of Berlin. So, of course, that's for GFS that we just looked at. This is from this is analysis from the ECMWF. You can only get this, I think, from University of Berlin. With this, you can look at this is like forecast temperatures for the next 10 days. You can go all the way up to 1 HPA, which is right at the very, very top of the stratosphere, almost going out in space, and you can go all the way down to 30 HPA. So this is actually the temperature forecast for the ECMWF model for 1 HPA. Remember, that's about as high up as you can go. At the moment, this gets us to the 16th of November. At the moment, there's no sign of any notable warming in the stratosphere at 1 HPA over the pole, but that tends to be where they start. The very, very highest level is where you have to look first, and then you have to go down, see whether the warming events get to like 10 HPA and 30 HPA. Often they stop at like 1 HPA. They don't go any further than that, some of these warming events. But the ones that do, you pick up on those when you go lower down. So this is the forecast from the University of Berlin via the ECM model for 10 HPA. This again gets 16th of November. Up to that point, we've got relatively cold temperatures, as we've already seen from the GFS model over the stratosphere. Helpfully, with these charts, they do actually highlight the North Pole itself as well, which is just there, the white spot just there, which is very useful, of course. And then we go further down that to 30 HPA, which is lower to the troposphere, of course, or closer to the troposphere. And again, they highlight where the North Pole is, just there. And up to sort of daytime, we've just got relatively cold temperatures there, albeit not anything greatly so, about, excuse me once again, everybody, about average for the time of the year. Now, as I said at the start, at the end of that presentation with UK Met, back in 2013, really all we had to go on was like the shorter range models, like the ECM, GFS, etc. There are long range models though that look at the stratosphere over an extended period. One of those is the ECMWF. So this is from ECMWF.int themselves. These are the 5-weekly nights. I think there's 5 of these. Sometimes there's 6, but today we've got 5. They've taken out this week's temperature, probably now we're into the middle of the week. Right, so this is the 10 HPA temperature anomaly for week 1, which will be the 13th to the 20th of November. So again, nothing overly dramatic going on. A little bit warmer than average with temperature at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Atlantic up towards south of Greenland, close to maybe ever slightly below average around the pole itself. Again, nothing overly dramatic going on with those temperatures. That is week 2, which is the 20th, 27th of November. Then we see signs of a bit of a warming beginning to take place between Canada and Siberia over here. That doesn't get us to the level of the southern stratospheric warming there, I don't think, but there is a bit of warming going on there. And that intensifies into week 3, to the 27th of November to 4th of December. Remember, this is just a forecast, so it's not guaranteed to come up, but like intensification of that warming between Canada and Siberia there into week 3. Then week 4 looks like that, a further intensification of the warming takes place and beginning to move toward the polar region itself as well. On the temperature scale, the anomaly is going to like 10 degrees or more above average, in fact, very deep red shading. No, we can't, because this is an anomaly to average, we can't say that that is necessarily a southern stratospheric warming. Why it's going to like 10 degrees above average, as SSW has got to get to like 50 degrees above average. So it would be helpful really if this scale went further up, if they could go further up from like 10 degrees above average, like 20 degrees above average, 30, 40, 50 degrees above average. That would be very helpful if they could do that. But they only go to like 10 degrees above normal, I think. So we're off the scale, but we you know, if say it's like going 15, 20 degrees above average, that would not be sufficient to get us to an SSW. Nevertheless, it is a significant warming of the stratosphere, and that's how we're looking at week 5 as far as we go from the 11th to the 18th of December. And obviously a significant warming of the stratosphere has taken place there. The forecast is correct. It's moved from like Canada, Siberia into the North Pole itself. The North Pole is just there. So it does look a little bit like an SSW, but again, because the temperature scale is like, it's off the scale, but it's only like 10 degrees that the scale goes up to, because of that, we can't necessarily say that that is an SSW, but it does kind of have that look to it, I have to say. December SSWs are quite rare, and in future updates we'll probably discuss about that. Maybe in a winter update even we could have a look at December's with an SSW. There's another way of looking at this, which is the zone of wind. So if the temperature at 10 hectares is like the depiction of the polar vortex, then the zone of wind is going to be the strength of the polar vortex, really. So this again forecast from the ECMWF for the zone of wind at 10 hPa over the North Pole. At the moment, the zone of wind is actually stronger than average here, as you see from those blue lines being above all the red-coloured lines. It looks like a weakening of the zone of wind is going to take place. So the strength is on the side, and the dates in a week period, are along the bottom. So it looks like a weakening of the zone of wind will take place into the final week, 10 days or so of November. And if we sort of track this thick blue line, it does look as though that will continue to weaken as we go into December or through December. This zero line here is very important, because if the zone of wind goes underneath that, then we've actually got a reversal of zone of winds. So what the Met talked about in the presentation I started off with, the zone of winds has basically gone from a westerly to an easterly, gone into reverse. And you see some of the ensemble cluster members are doing that. Some of the ensemble members are taking the zone of wind down into a reversal type state. More of them are going for a significant weakening, has to be said, rather than an actual reversal through December. But all looking quite interesting. You can actually see how that compares. So we looked at this when we did the winter update, and that was from the chart from Friday the 3rd of November. So that's that one. And that is how many ensemble blue members were going for a reversal of zone of winds then. So these ones just here really we're going for reversal of zone of winds. Compare that to now, and I think you see more actually but are now going for reversal of zone of winds, albeit it's a minority option. But we will, we'll get a reversal of zone of winds through the middle and in the second half of December. The majority option, most of the ensemble members are still going for a weakening, quite a significant weakening, but not a reversal of zone of winds. But there are more ensemble blue members now that are going for a reversal of zone of winds than was the case when we did the 10th winter update. That's from the 31st of October, that's from the 1st of November, that's from 2nd of November, that's from the 3rd of November, that's from the 4th of November. Again, keep an eye on that zero line. That is from the 5th of November. Excuse me, again, that's from the 6th of November. And finally, that's from the 7th of November. So, it's a minority option, but we might send zone of wind into reverse, but the possibility is there. And certainly, it does look as though there could be a weakening, quite a significant weakening of zone of winds. It will depend, of course, how strong any warming event happens to get. Right, okay, so that's what you update of everything stratosphere-wise. We'll have a look at this again when we do our winter update. Not quite into this depth, but we will have a look at stratospheric data, of course, part of the 11th winter update. And as I say, this isn't replacing anything. So when winter updates are done with, we will look at stratospheric data within our 10 to 14 days as well. But I did want to, it's something I've been thinking about doing for a few years, never really got round to it. But I thought this year we would have a specific video once a week where we will just drill down into specific stratospheric data, and it wouldn't include anything else. The subsequent videos probably won't be as long as this, unless we do get an SSW. Subsequent videos will hopefully be more in the 10-15 minute time frame. Right, if you've enjoyed the video, please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Let me know in the comments what you think about this new feature on the channel, and please keep checking back for more. Don't forget to tell friends and family to subscribe as well, and we thank you so very much, everybody, for doing that. We'll be live streaming our 10 to 14 there at 6 o'clock, and then we've got the third instalment of Christmas Countdown. So if this is all science, then the third instalment of Christmas Countdown is going to have a bit of fun, have a bit of a laugh, and that's coming up straight after the live stream, about 7 o'clock. So for this one, though, that's all for now. I'll see you a little bit later on for our live stream or for the third instalment of Christmas Countdown. This Stratospheric update, though, Strat Watch. That's all for now. And thanks for watching.